seen in the past. Consumers are under pressure from many different fronts, not only the e-tolls. The e-tolls are just going to mainly affect consumers in Gauteng, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the consumers across the country are not struggling. We have seen the numbers that came out of the Reserve Bank last week. You talked about unemployment being around 25%. I think that picture flatters what is actually happening in the economy. Those consumers that do have jobs are under pressure from several fronts. You talked about a weak rent. A weak rent impacts on the imports that South Africa gets from abroad. While we saw a decline in petrol prices last month and the previous month, the cumulative increase in petrol prices has been a lot. So transport costs have increased. Now adding e-tolls to that, to the powerhouse of this economy, meaning Gauteng, increases the transport costs that much more. Those people who do not use transport, public transport, are going to be hit. Those who use the highways. Those who do use public transport have been hit already because people have seen increases in petrol prices. Stemming from they've seen increases in public transport stemming from the increase in petrol prices. I don't think you've heard of anybody talking about a decline in food prices, a decline in taxi prices, a decline in bus fares, simply because we've seen a decrease in petrol prices. Now, these increases come up, they stay up, your income doesn't match.
Absolutely, it's a problem we all face. If there are some tips that you can give to the consumers heading into the festive season to not make the New Year's headache so big, what would those tips be?
I think we are all tired at the end of the year. We've worked hard. It doesn't mean because the economy is struggling, you work less harder. We do deserve a break. The question is, if you treat yourself over the festive season, how is that going to pan out through 2014? How does that translate into coming back into 2014 in a sane, sober state of mind? Because I think sometimes we go crazy. You feel that you've worked hard, and I think you might start hearing people advertising. You can buy a car now, start paying in 2014. You can do this, start paying in
get extra credit on your accounts and all that sort of stuff.
And so forth. That's a problem because while the MPC has kept rates unchanged for long, it doesn't mean that they're never going to change. You heard in the MPC statement last week that they did discuss either raising interest rate, keeping them unchanged, or cutting. So it doesn't mean that while we are at this cycle, interest rates will never change. This is a cycle, so it means that it goes up, it goes down. So if you are taking credit to spend over Christmas, do so responsibly and know that you can service the debt should interest rates go up. What happened back in 2006 was that credit was easy to come by. We never actually budgeted for increases in interest rate, and where that happened, a lot of people defaulted on their debts.
Absolutely, it's a problem I think that we've seen worldwide. But I want to talk about the outlook for the country and in doing so for the people for 2014. Do you see us going towards another recession in the new year, as some of the forecasts globally look that way? And how should people brace themselves for that? So
when we look at 2013 itself, you've seen the growth rate revised to 1.9%. What we don't see now is that it was actually forecast at around 3.2% the beginning of this year. The bank and other analysts kept revising downward. Now the Reserve Bank is very optimistic in my view. They are forecasting a very optimistic increase in GDP for 2014, around 3% as well. However, I don't see how this economy is going to change suddenly. We're going to see they forecasted a growth rate of 0.9%. I don't see what is going to happen between now, say the end of March, end of June next year, that is suddenly going to boost economic growth from less than 2%, which is some analysts actually forecast it at 1.5% to suddenly 3%. I don't think we're going to see a growth rate of 3% for next year.
What are the positives that we can get to look forward to in the next couple of years? Are things like fracking and infrastructure development and those sort of things, are those some of the bankers that we are going to need to come in the future in order for us to achieve that kind of growth that we're looking at?
You raised an important point, because I think we tend to look towards the Reserve Bank, change interest rate, cut interest rate to support growth. This is not the only institution in the country, and it should be a joint effort by all tiers of government. Actually, it should be a structural change in the economy, working with the private sector and so so forth. The fracking question is quite an emotive one, and I'm not sure whether the benefits to the economy are worth what it costs to get that oil up. But certainly something that we don't have in the equation now can only be positive, can be positive for the economy, because it's something that is coming from outside and boosting the economy. The trade-offs, I'm not sure, are going to be worth it though. But other things, the fact that you know that there's the government, the monetary policy and fiscal policy is widely well regarded the world over. That is something that South Africa can take as a positive. Is that going to change economic growth going immediately? No, but for the long term, that is good news.
If I had 10,000 Rand, what should I do with it? If I'm somebody watching this show, I've got 10,000 Rand from my bonus left in January, what should I do with it that would be smart?
My best advice would be talk to your financial advisor who's accredited. But for me, the most expensive debt you've got, your credit card, if you work that down, is going to be worth more than what you invest and get a nominal interest rate on that.
Oh, thank you very much for joining us. That's a lovely insight into how we should be thinking before the start of the festive season. That's Liberty Life economist Tendani Mantshimuli giving us a little look into what 2014 is going to look like economically for both you and myself, and also how we should be looking at spending our money before the start of yet another festive season.